My name is John Clemens, and I have the privilege of being the executive director of Icd Drb, and also the privilege of having worked there as a young scientist for 5 years in the 1980s. It's truly an incredible organization. On behalf of our many staff and board members who have worked at or with the Icd Drb over nearly 60 years, we really thank the Hilton Foundation for this wonderful honor. We are really humbled to be considered among the truly incredible organizations that have received this award in past years. May I have the first slide? Thank you. We are an international medical research institution hosted by the government of Bangladesh. Our mission is to solve public health problems afflicting the poor in developing countries through innovative scientific research. Established in 1960 by the United States as the Pakistan Southeast Asia Treaty Organization Cholera Research Laboratory, our research initially focused on cholera and diarrheal diseases. In 1978, we became the International Center for Diarrheal Disease Research Bangladesh, or Icd Drb, with a broadened mission which today includes maternal and child health, sexual and reproductive health and rights, nutrition sciences, enteric, respiratory, and emerging infections, health systems, and the emerging threats in developing countries of non-communicable diseases like diabetes and cardiovascular disease, and climate change. Although our major mission is research, one of the most visible indications of our contribution to public health is found in our hospitals. Each year, our 3 hospitals provide free treatment to nearly 200,000 indigent patients, most of whom present with either diarrhea or malnutrition. The slide's not moving? Oh. Let's see. Okay. We also conduct training for Bangladeshi and international professionals in areas related to our research and clinical programs. We regularly offer our assistance and expertise to deal with cholera outbreaks occurring in humanitarian crises worldwide. In the last year, we sent teams to assist in the control of cholera outbreaks occurring in both Sudan and Ethiopia. And we are currently training a group of physicians and nurses from Yemen, which is presently experiencing the world's largest ongoing outbreak of cholera in the context of a devastating war. And closer to home, we are working with the government of Bangladesh to provide oral cholera vaccine and diarrheal treatment to the exiled Rohingyas currently stranded in Cox's Bazar, who are at very high risk of a major devastating cholera outbreak. Throughout our 60-year history, we have strived to generate evidence-based, low-cost, life-saving interventions that can be scaled up in resource-limited settings in Bangladesh and globally. Our history and achievements interdigitate closely with the evolution of global health as described by Professor Peter Piot, who is Dean of the London School of Hygiene and Tropical Medicine. Historically, during Global Health 1.0, as Peter calls it, which was the era of colonialism by European powers and sometimes called tropical medicine, the focus, frankly, was to keep white people from the colonizing countries alive in the tropics. The genesis of Icd Drb was during the next phase, Global Health 2.0, which was called International Health and comprised clever people in rich countries doing something to help the people in poor countries, often with Cold War overtones. That's when we were created. In the early 1970s, scientists working at the center developed a simple mixture of water, sugar, and salt that would revolutionize the treatment of diarrheal diseases, called by the medical journal Lancet one of the most important medical advances of the 20th century. Oral rehydration solution, or ORS, is an inexpensive solution that rehydrates patients with diarrhea through its ability to augment absorption of orally administered fluids and electrolytes. As past speakers have mentioned, it is estimated to have saved nearly 50 million lives since its introduction into public health. In the early 1980s, Icd Drb scientists demonstrated that newborns of mothers who had received tetanus toxoid vaccine before pregnancy were highly protected against neonatal tetanus, which at the time was the #1 cause of neonatal mortality globally. This evidence led to the global adoption of tetanus toxoid vaccine for women of childbearing age, a strategy that is a key element of WHO's global efforts to prevent neonatal tetanus, which actually now is on the brink of elimination. Our scientists also demonstrated the importance of deploying village women as community health workers to provide simple primary health care as well as family planning services for their neighbors. Now, those of you in global health would say, well, that's sort of a no-brainer. Everybody does that. But at the time that it was developed at Icd Drb, it was a revolutionary idea, not actually relying on doctors and nurses exclusively. This approach was brought to scale nationally in Bangladesh with remarkable results. In a significantly overpopulated country, Bangladesh is the most densely populated country in the world, these contributions help lower the average number of births during a woman's reproductive lifetime from slightly over 6 in 1975 to 2.3 at present. Icd Drb has always focused on mentoring and nurturing its Bangladeshi scientists. We are very proud of the fact that a considerable number of Bangladeshi researchers who grew up in our system have become scientists of international stature, and you'll be meeting Dr. Shala Qadri during the panel discussion. She's one tremendous example of that. Most of these scientists grew up professionally during the next era of global health, which Peter termed Global Health 3.0, where researchers in rich countries lead researchers in poor countries. We continue to contribute innovations for public health during this time. Examples include zinc for the treatment of diarrhea, in which Icd Drb scientists discovered that combining zinc with oral rehydration solution further increased the reduction of child deaths from diarrheal diseases, as well as from other causes. Icd Drb scientists also rigorously tested the efficacy of several new vaccines for diseases of global public health importance, including rotavirus vaccines for childhood diarrhea, and influenza vaccine administered to pregnant women to protect both themselves and their newborns, studies that provided key evidence for global recommendations by WHO. In Icd Drb's large-scale studies demonstrated for the first time the effectiveness of orally administered cholera vaccine, unlike the old injectable vaccine, which was actually quite worthless, which since 2013 has been used in a WHO global stockpile that has been deployed in over 40 cholera outbreaks and humanitarian crises in Asia, Africa, and the Americas, and is now, as we speak today, being delivered to protect hundreds of thousands of Rohingya refugees in southern Bangladesh. Our scientific evidence and innovations generated during global health eras 2.0 and 3.0 were readily taken up by programs of the government of Bangladesh, and this translation from science to public health practice was critical to the remarkable success of Bangladesh in achieving both Millennium Development Goal 4, reduction of childhood mortality, and Millennium Development Goal 5, reduction of maternal mortality. To help ensure success in achieving the new Sustainable Development Goals, or SDGs, we believe that a future era of global health, termed Global Health 4.0 by Professor Piat, will be essential. During Global Health 4.0, research on the problems of global health will be led by researchers in low-income countries, and extensive South-to-South collaborations will be critical. A good deal of this research will be what we now call implementation science, that is, research on how to scale up into real-life public health programs, interventions that we know work. We believe that our current pipeline of low-cost, potentially high-impact innovations, for which we have established proof of principle in Bangladesh, may play an important role in this Southern-led research. Severe pneumonia is the #1 cause of death now among children under 5 globally. It used to be diarrhea, but ORS has sort of taken care of that. Many of these children in developing countries die of asphyxiation because they are treated in settings that lack mechanical respirators. We have developed a low-cost, bubble continuous positive airway pressure system termed bubble CPAP, consisting only of an oxygen source, plastic tubing, and a soap bottle that can be used to support ventilation in such settings. And we have published in the medical journal Lancet a randomized trial showing that the use of bubble CPAP reduces mortality from severe pneumonia in comparison with the current WHO ventilatory support in these settings. Bubble CPAP is so effective now that it's a standard of care in our own ICU and our own hospitals for severe pneumonia. We hardly ever have to use mechanical ventilators anymore. And we are now embarking on studies to scale this life-saving approach in Bangladesh and in several partner countries. Severe acute malnutrition kills nearly 1 million children globally each year. Packets of calorie-dense, ready-to-use therapeutic food, or RUTF, are essential for reconstituting the nutritional status of these emaciated children who present to our hospital on death's door. However, internationally produced RUTF, while effective, is too expensive for use in many developing countries. So we have recently designed and tested an inexpensive RUTF made with local ingredients from the South Asian diet, and have demonstrated it to be equivalent to the expensive international product in treating severe acute malnutrition. And we are now conducting additional studies on the usefulness of this local product in public health programs. In many developing countries, maternal hemorrhage is the most common cause of death during pregnancy and childbirth, illustrated this morning in a very poignant vignette. In Bangladesh, as in many developing countries, the vast majority of all births do not occur in hospitals or facilities. They occur at home, where family members typically lack a reliable way of gauging when bleeding has progressed to the point that the mother needs to be transferred to a medical facility for blood transfusion. our scientists have developed a biodegradable absorbent birthing mat integrated into a clean delivery kit for deliveries at home. The mat, which the mother sits on once the newborn has crowned, is engineered to become saturated when mother passes about 500 cc's of blood. Families can thereby be trained to transfer the mother for blood transfusion and additional care when the mat starts to visibly ooze blood. We've tested this mat in nearly 100,000 deliveries at homes in Bangladesh and found the use to be both feasible and acceptable, and are undertaking further studies to evaluate the effectiveness and impact of the mat both inside and outside Bangladesh. Several years ago, at a special meeting at UN headquarters on the contributions of Icd Drb's research and evidence to the success of Bangladesh in achieving the 4th and the 5th Millennium Development Goals, then Secretary General Ban Ki-moon stated, 2 years ago, I visited Bangladesh as part of a health tour and had the privilege of visiting Icd Drb in Dhaka. It was amazing and inspirational. I urge Icd Drb and the government of Bangladesh to continue their efforts, share lessons learned, and continue to innovate and partner to find sustainable solutions to our most pressing global health challenges. The Hilton Prize will help us respond to Mr. Bond's charge to us. It will accelerate our efforts to translate our in-house pipeline of new low-cost products and interventions into public health programs for the poor, and boost our investments in the careers of our young scientists who will play an important role in Global Health 4.0 and in achieving the Sustainable Development Goals. I would like to thank the prize jury, the board of directors, Peter Lahern and Maggie Miller of the Hilton Foundation, as well as their absolutely wonderful staff for making this award to the Icd Drb possible. I would also like to thank my many outstanding colleagues at the Icd Drb, including Manjur Islam, Anthony Flynn, Shala Qadri, Catherine Spencer, Shams Arafin, and Loretta Saldana, who are here today. As well as I would like to recognize our current board chairman, Richard Smith, and our other board members who have given so much to us. The Icd Drb could never have made its many achievements without our many donors, and I especially thank the governments of Bangladesh, Canada, Sweden, and the UK, which have provided us with invaluable support. Many individuals outside of Bangladesh have provided key support to the center during my terms as executive director. I would especially like to acknowledge the support of Professors Bucky Greeno, Jan Holmgren, Anne-Marie Svennerholm, Bob Black, Nirmal Ganguly, Roger Glass, who you'll be meeting in the next panel, Balakrishna Iyer, Claire Panosian, Xiaofeng Zhang, Roger Deedles, Jody Hyman, Ian Gus, Gordon Dugan, Jack Lee, and Alia Musa, as well as former ambassador of Korea to the UN, Oh Jun. And of course, I thank my family for their understanding and support for my somewhat crazy career, including my wife, Sunny, my daughter, Becky, and my sisters, Joan and Kate, who traveled long distances to be with us today. So on behalf of the board and staff of the Icd Drb, thank you again for this great honor.